Hello everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to the Continuum. I know I promised a review for today. It was actually a recorded review. Unfortunately, when it got uploaded, it was immediately blocked due to probably due to adding Star Trek content from the previous episode. So I don't know. I do apologize. So this is why I'm now doing the review in the form of a live stream, rather than you guys get to see this recorded, the recorded video that I did, which was a shame. I spent a lot of time and a lot of effort on that video, which was a real shame. I also did another video for a buddy called Joseph Petrick, who's generally, he's a buddy of mine. He's been to my channel for 2 years. He asked me to make a video for him. Unfortunately, that also got blocked. So even by the 11-second rule of showing 11 seconds of footage or less, maybe it's because I'm in Germany or I don't know, but YouTube blocked it. It wouldn't allow it to be shown. So yeah, nothing I can do about that, guys. So for the time being, all my reviews are going to have to be in the form of a live stream. So if you're watching, come and say hello. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I'm going to pop into start the review in just a moment. Now, I had mixed feelings about this episode. There were some really good bits in it, and there were some bits I didn't like. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things. It's one of those episodes. It's 50-50. Things that were great, other things not so good. Unfortunately. Also, a little theory going to be spun at the end of this video, or close to the end of the stream. But yeah. So, by the way, if you're watching, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and please share this video. I see there's only 2 watching at the moment, so I'm going to wait for a few more to come in. But yeah, please share this video. Don't be, share it with your friends. Let them know that we're live, and if they want to come, that'd be great. So. We'll get to it in a few minutes. I hope everyone's all right. Please let me know in the comments what you thought of this particular episode. Forget Me Not. As I said, I was 50-50 on this episode. There were things I liked, things I didn't. There were some good bits. We also got to obviously introduce 2 new characters, which I thought was cool. So we've got 2 new. Brooke Perez says hello from Dr. and Mrs. McCoy. Well, hello, Dr. and Mrs. McCoy. And I hope you're giving them my best as well, Brooke. Thank you for coming. So looks like it's just a couple of people watching, so we're gonna get into it. So one of the things I did like about this episode was at the beginning. As well as another part in this episode as well. We'll get to in a bit during the meal with obviously in the captain's quarters. Or was in the ready room. I'm not too sure if it was in the captain's quarters or in the ready room. But that was but I'll get to that in a minute. So the episode opens up with Dr. Culber giving the opening monologue, which I thought was pretty cool because generally it was always either Saru or Michael Burnham always sort of opening up the episode, and it was always the same 2 characters. So I'm glad in this episode they're bringing more. Characters to the forefront. Bro says Baha crackling. Really? Is there crackling? Can you not hear me? Is it that bad? Hold on. Let me just mute my microphone here. 1 second. Bringing more characters to the forefront. Bro says Baha crackling. Really? Is there crackling? No, I'm not. Put the microphone back on. No, I'm not hearing any crackling on my side, I'm afraid. So, no, I don't know. I don't want to blame it on your device, obviously. But yeah, I'm not hearing any crackling myself. 1 second, just set that up. Yeah, so I don't know. Might have a bad reception. Cackling and laughing. Oh, sorry. I sort of read cackling. I need glasses. I need to get glasses, man. I'm going blind as a bat. It comes with old age. Same with balding. I'm 38, 39 next year, and then I'll be 40. Then I'm really old, really, really old. But hey, that's the way it goes. But yeah. So yeah, as I said, the episode opened with Dr. Culber giving the opening monologue, which generally is something new in season 3. I remember when season 2 came out and was doing reviews on my old Continuing Trek channel. I did mention a lot. It would be good to see some of the other characters getting more attention in the form of a captain's log or a crewman's log, whatever. And we're finally getting to see that now in season 3. It took 3 seasons to get that, which I think was a shame. It didn't need to take that long, but okay. But that was one of the good points. Balding, yes, Brooke, I'm balding, as you notice. Well, I won't say I'm balding. I'm just now bald, but trying to stay youthful. I've still got some hair, kind of complements the beard a little bit because I need the hair. Keep me warm in the winter nights. Although this winter it doesn't seem to be all that cold, as you see me wearing a t-shirt and nothing more than a long-sleeved, a long-sleeved shirt during the day because it's just so warm here. Okay, the gym winters just aren't what they used to be, unfortunately, which is sad because the gym winters were great. Really nice, lovely white winters. Everything covered in snow. Work being cancelled, but still get paid for it. So you didn't even come off your leave. Those were the days. Those were the days. But anyway, I know some conspiracy theorists out there saying it's something to do with HAARP, but it's just where it's just it's just a changing of the cycle. It's going to get cold around about January, February, April time, more than it usually is at that point. Well, I'd say about February, April time, colder than it usually is at that period. That's just the way it is. The weather system is changing, and obviously the way we've set up our calendar, the days, the months, and the weeks, obviously are not aligned to that. So that's just the way it is. Unfortunately, weather patterns change, and So as I said, so moving past the opening monologue, as we're still on the opening monologue, Dr. Cobb was stressing that the crew is having problems now being in the future. This is where I had one of the first problems with the episode, which was they all volunteered in the final episode of season 2 to go with Michael Burnham to the future. Michael Burnham was like, I need to go to the future, save humanity in my Red Angel suit. And they went, yeah, and we're going to come with you because we love you. Now they're complaining in the future, and everyone they know is dead, which I don't know. I don't know why they're complaining. I mean, I can understand them having post-traumatic stress or anything else after they came to the future and they crashed on the planet. Stamets, for instance, getting impaled. I get that. But complaining for making a decision that they made voluntarily, it boggles the mind. They're not teenagers, they're grown-ups. There's no point complaining for a decision that they made. We're then in his sick bay. Obviously, we meet the character. Well, there's a character that we met in the previous episode, which was Adria. Lovely new character. I think she's a 16-year-old girl. I think it's a girl. I hope I get the pronoun right, but she did identify as she, but she seemed a bit awkward when she was. So obviously, maybe more information will come on that. I don't know yet. But yeah, a little nitpick, a tiny little nitpick, was when the scan it showed obviously the trill in her body. However, they then they obviously said that it was wrapped around her heart, which it wasn't, because obviously it wasn't displayed that on the screen. So a tiny little nitpick there. But yeah, obviously, what was it? One of these post-traumatic growth as well. She was suffering post-traumatic growth, which I don't know. Maybe it meant arrested development due to her having a symbiont in her, and obviously since she's not developed because the symbionts maybe burning enough calories or affecting her internal system, maybe. But then just say arrested development. Don't say post-traumatic growth. But obviously he had identified that she has suffered some sort of trauma at some point, and that's why maybe she's not joining with the symbiote all that well. Brooke Perry says, I'm spoiling this episode myself purely because I like the channel and analysis so much. Well, thanks. If you've not watched the episode yet, sorry for the spoilers. I don't mean to spoil it for you. I've watched the episode 4 times now. As I said, there were some good bits that I liked, bits that I didn't, and unfortunately, this was one of the bit of writing that I didn't like. Brooke says, I really get into the Trill legends, talking about the Trill and showing more aspects, and I absolutely love it from what friends have shared. Well, if you want to learn more about the Trill society, I do recommend watching Deep Space Nine. There's plenty of Trill episodes there. Jadzia Dax really gets into it. So it was good. Like, for instance, when they revealed that at the beginning of the show that only a handful of Trills can ever get to be initiates, and then later on, obviously it found out, this had been a big conspiracy, and actually more hosts. There were actually more hosts being that compatible with the symbionts. So, Brooke, I would recommend watching DS9 if you want more Trill lore. Because they've got a lot of lore on the Trill Society in Deep Space Nine, so it's definitely worth watching. Roughly around about from season, from season 1 actually. From the first episode, we see Dax getting her symbiote for the first time from Curzon. So definitely go check out Deep Space Nine. But anyway, as we're getting back to it, so we go. She's in sick bay. They run a scan. Obviously, they see the symbiont, and obviously he's worried that the doctor mentions that she's not. Obviously she's undergone some sort of. She's suffering from some sort of arrested development. However, he doesn't use that term. He uses post-traumatic growth, which I think was just a really crappy way of saying, arrested development. But we do later find out that there is, obviously, that this was true. She had suffered, her and her boyfriend had suffered trauma, and she put the Trill on herself, and obviously that, altered her in a way and affected her body. So that's why she hadn't changed. She's actually remained pretty much the same since she was discovered in the life pod at Earth. Excuse me. So one of the things also, so then the doctor says, the only way we can figure this out is to go to Trill, and obviously Captain Sarah agrees, and they fly off to the Trill homeworld. We get a holographic communication from one of the, obviously I can't remember his name now. I forgot his name. To get a holographic communication from one of the sort of the head guys on Trill, and first of all, they're happy to see a Federation vessel. They haven't seen one in a long time, and they're obviously happy that there's a host coming in with a symbiont, which is something they're really ecstatic about. Until Michael Burnham and of course Adria go to the planet, and then obviously they meet them, and they're not too happy with the fact that the host is a human being, and they call her an abomination. And that obviously the symbiote should be removed, which of course would endanger the host's life. Michael Burnham obviously not happy with this. He says, "Whoa, this isn't how we do things in Starfleet and in the Federation." Yeah, well, Federation's not here, and we're on Trill, so Trill law takes precedent. And the laws are important. If you go to another place, you do have to abide by the law. However, I do think what they were suggesting was a little bit too severe by just, they're willing to kill the host to get a symbiont, which typically is not something I think they would do. Or at least not in that way. That's unnecessary. There was one bit, and it does hold up. A lot of people said, about the not having a successful human symbiont joining. I know a lot of people said, well, there was that episode with Riker. We had one. You've got to keep in mind from when this happened on the ship. When this was mentioned on the ship in sickbay, they're still going from the 23rd century point of view. So from their, as far as they're concerned, that hasn't happened because obviously, they weren't there to see it. They've skipped all these years. That, of course, that the Trill ambassador said this on the planet was okay. A little bit. What's the word? Well, it broke canon a little bit because obviously that would have been recorded that Riker had a Trill host inside him at some point. Again, though, it wasn't 100% successful because he was suffering through this, but they were able to join and share. So the symbiote shared its thoughts and memories with Riker. So in a way, it was successful. That's true. So on the one hand, it fit in perfectly, and then on the other hand, it didn't. I don't know. I think you also have to keep in mind that the people who write these shows, they're different writers every time. So they didn't, and they're probably not watching all the Trek shows like we do. So they're probably not all clued up on everything Star Trek, unfortunately, which is a shame. And they're probably clued up on everything that they've written and everything they've done, but maybe not necessarily everything on the older shows. Anyway, so when Michael Burnham then defends Adria, says, "No, you're not going to take her life. In fact, we're just, we're going to leave." they tell them to essentially get off the planet. One of them leads Michael Burnham. Obviously, they lead Michael Burnham and Adria down this path, and they start getting surrounded by guards. Michael Burnham realizes they're not leading them away from the village or to the transport site, and then they get attacked. And Michael Burnham, and this was from a great line in Star Trek Voyager that Catherine Janeway said, guys from the 23rd century were a little quicker on the phasers and a little slower on diplomacy. And that's exactly what happened here. Rather than trying to sort of talk this out, Michael Burnham just pulls the phaser. Phasers are the ones with the weapons. What I didn't like about this particular scene, though, was when she grabbed the unarmed Trill, who essentially, he was unarmed. The threat was eliminated, and he said, take us to the caves. And he said, no. Or she asked him, where are the caves? He refused to answer, so she then phasered him. That is where I went, nah, you shouldn't have done that. Okay, that's not really the way you do. You don't just shoot an unarmed person because they refuse to give you a bit of information. You don't do that. At least I hope people don't do that. I don't remember that ever happening in older shows, but hey, that's what kind of killed that scene for me. But that bit where she just grabs a phaser, phases these guys, it reminded me of that line by Catherine Janeway where she said, these guys from the 23rd century were a little quick on the phasers and slow on diplomacy. Brooke Perez says it's hard to keep the canon stories and facts straight, especially if you're a writer on a new series, in my opinion, since there's just so much. There is, but there is a thing called memory alpha. So if you're writing something, and I know everyone, guys that Star Trek know about memory alpha, just type in trills, symbionts, everything else, and all the information's there. So there's a whole vast library of Trek knowledge out on the internet, especially by memory alpha and memory beta. So they could go by this, but I know they're trying to create something new. As a creator, I mean, I'm not really artistic, even though I do try to be sometimes. But yeah, it's when you are creating something, you want your own spin on it, and I understand that. But still, these little things, I'm doing it wrong. When I get to the review of the next episode, I enjoyed the episode a lot, immensely. It was a very good episode, but this one, it just wasn't. It was a 50-50. But yeah, so she phasered this unarmed Trill, which I thought were, that was really unnecessary. She didn't need to do that. She could have just scared him away. She didn't. The other Trill guy then comes along. I can't remember his name. I'm terrible. I know. As I said, I'm a bit disappointed that the recorded version of this, unfortunately, got blocked. I'm still angry about that. But yeah, so one of the Trills then leads them off to the caves. Obviously, gets starts stirring up the waters, and Adria gets changed. Brooke says, can't all be bangers. No, they can't, unfortunately. They can't. Adria then steps into the pool, and because she's having problems. So we've seen this before when a Trill will go into the symbiont pool and will start connecting with previous hosts. Which more specifically was when Dax, obviously, when one of the hosts had been erased from the symbiont's memory. Re-emerged. I think it was Joran Dax, I think it was Joran Dax, who was a serial killer, who was a murderer. Obviously, he managed to get his way into the initiation program and got the Dax host for a while. So we see the same things. So at least they got obviously did the research on that bit and followed that one through. So yeah, she gets in the pool and some sparks of electricity, like we saw in Deep Space Nine. That was still there, which was really cool. The eyes were going white. That was kind of creepy. It was like watching her eyes roll back. And that was, that was quite creepy. That was something like from Halloween movie, from a horror movie. But okay, you still look cool. And then she sunk under the water. And Michael Burnham panicked for a minute, and the Trill said, "Don't worry, she'll be fine. It's all part of the process." Brooke Perez, I saw a picture of those pools, and they looked so beautiful. Well, yeah, they are. They're in the underground. They're in the obviously on the obviously in the underground of the Trill homeworld, where the symbionts reside. That's where they're sort of born. That's where they that's where they get kept and looked after while until a suitable host is found. And also that's where they return when the symbionts are too old to join. So that's where they kind of go to die as well. So they're born there, they live there for a while, and then they die there as well in these in the symbiont pools, which all right, it's one way to go, I suppose. But yeah, and they're also capable. The symbionts are also capable of sharing their memories and information with one another, which is via these pools. That's pretty cool. So anyway, so Michael Burnham then wants to know what's going on. She gets given a little device. I can't remember. I think it was like a neural transmitter. She gets it clipped it on her head, and she goes in the water. And the weird thing is, though, she undergoes the same process. I don't understand. If she was able to create this like a telepathic link, there wasn't any really need for her to get into the water or have the same process happen to her, where her eyes roll back and she gets pulled under. So yeah, I don't know why she had to get in the pool for that. It didn't make much sense to me. But again, it's one of those little things. Let me see what else weird. Sorry. Yeah, then we actually connects with Adria in the pools, in the symbiont pool. Sorry, she starts seeing memories. I was first to see these little tendrils and tentacles, and they're both, or Adria's a bit afraid of them, but then Michael Burnham sort of reassures her that these things are trying to connect with you. Obviously, it's the symbiont trying to connect, and trying to share its information. And all the memories and everything else, just let it happen. Don't be afraid. Nothing can happen. I'm here. Don't worry. Everything's cool. And she lets it happen. And it was actually quite a beautiful moment. It's good to see, how the symbiont and the host, sort of join. How the symbiont and the host sort of start sharing memories and literally joining on the inside. So I thought that was kind of cool. It was visually beautiful to see. It was a very, very beautiful thing. Visually beautiful, well done. And then we start seeing obviously her old memories from what happened before she was discovered in the life pod. That the previous host was Gray, which I thought was a little young. Now I think maybe before the burn, maybe Gray obviously wouldn't have ever been joined with the symbiote. As we know, typically it goes for years of discipline, hard work, and training just to become an initiate, and then twice that amount just to pass the test to get joined. Now, obviously, in this time period where obviously there is no warp drive, and this symbiote had been separated from the Trill homeworld for quite some time, and she was probably the only Trill on board that ship or space station, wherever they were on, that obviously it had to be put in her to survive. Kind of the same thing like happened with Esri. As we know, Esri wasn't really an initiate. She was just a counselor on the USS Destiny. However, because the symbiote's life was in danger, they had to input it into Esri. So I can understand something similar happening there, that in order to say the symbiote, they had to put it in a host that was not really it wasn't an initiate, but was the only Trill on that spaceship or space station. It wasn't really clear what they were on. If it was a ship or a station, I'm not too sure. I've watched the episode 3 or 4 times. I don't remember them mentioning that at all. So yeah, so in a way, kind of I wasn't sure initiate, but you understand that it's also happened before. So yeah, okay. The symbiote's been separated from the Trill homeworld. Brooke says Discovery really has some phenomenal visuals. It does. That's one thing. Well, that's one thing from season 1 they've always done well, was the visuals. Unfortunately, the writing has gotten better. And also, what I like to say as well, this season so far, the tone is different as well. In the first 2 seasons, it was very dark. The rooms were dimly lit. It felt very claustrophobic as well, because typically they were usually just on starships all the time. They very rarely went down to a planet. If they were, it was inside a building. Very rarely, if ever, outside. So seeing this now, they're on Trill, on the surface or underground. Or in the first 2 episodes, we saw Michael Burnham outside, which was, I think, was really great. It didn't feel so claustrophobic like the first 2 seasons. So yeah, beautiful sceneries, beautiful visuals, Very, very well done. So yeah, then we had, while that's going on, Saru has a discussion with Dr. Koba. Dr. Koba mentioned, look, the crew are having problems. They've been working non-stop. They're exhausted. They're tired. They're also a little bit depressed now that they're in the future. Everyone they know has been gone for 1,000 years. Again, my argument is, okay, they made that decision. They did it with a smile on their face. They were willing to go to the future. They're quite excited to do it as well. I guess, all right, they didn't like the result when they got there. Obviously, Earth isn't part of the Federation. Everything's gone to hell. But, still, they made the decision. But what I will say is, though, discussing, how to sort of remedy this. So the Saru then speaks to the computer, which we now get to see is coming to life slowly. Obviously, what was it we call it? The sphere data is obviously involved the computer itself, and it's slowly becoming alive. It's becoming the computer is becoming sentient, and starts speaking to Saru as a sentient being rather than just a typical computer. And starts offering suggestions like therapeutic coloring books. Now, first I thought that was a joke. I'm not a psychologist or a therapist in any way. I first thought it was a joke because I thought, when I first saw that, I thought, wow, they're children. It is an actual thing. I googled it, went on it. Therapeutic coloring books are an actual thing, especially for people who have high stress levels, who have high intense jobs, or who have suffered, or suffer from post-traumatic stress, everything else. These things do exist even today. So, so I did actually put that in the bad points. But since it's an actual real thing, I kind of removed that one. But I thought it was still worth mentioning. Or watching comedies like Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, things like that. Or even giving them the night off. And so give them the night off. Yes, give them the night off. Yeah, fair enough, give them the night off. But it also makes me think, do these people not get time off? Do they not get a lot of time off? Surely they're not working all the time. And if anything, I would have given them the weekend off at least, 2-3 days to recuperate. But hey, okay, the night off is better than no time off whatsoever. So Saru then organises a big meal in the captain's quarters. Or I wasn't sure if it was ready room or his quarters. I think it was in his quarters. I'm going to say it was in his quarters just for safety. Again, it was one of those things that wasn't really sort of said, whether it was in the ready room or the captain's quarters. I don't know. I guess it's the captain's quarters. And yeah, Saru starts talking about his home with Kaminar, how they would work all day catching kelp, put them out in the sun, dry them out, and then as a family they would sit under the stars eating the evening meal. And he said it reminded him of that. And obviously he gave a speech, trying to remind them, as I said before, they all made the decision to go to the future. We have to come to terms with the result that we discovered, because we, of our own volition, decided to come here. So it's time to sort of move past that. And he's not wrong. He wasn't wrong. They then start having a few jokes, few giggles here and there, and then start playing haiku, which of course then gets me the best. Now I'm not too. I haven't decided whether or not I like this bit or not. With kind of Detmer clearly, obviously knocking a noggin. She obviously suffered some sort of brain damage or some sort of trauma, and she's suffering through this. And yeah, that was just quite a scary moment. How she's saying the droids can't remove Stamets' blood. She keeps sort of say revising the sentence until she hits a haiku. But it was quite scary. That was like, whoa. That was one of those horror show moments, like the thing with the eyes when the eyes roll back. That was whoa. It was quite horrific. But hey, that's the way it goes. It was scary. I'm not too sure if I liked that scene or not. It was one of those things where I thought, well, all right. Stamets and Tilly obviously get into an argument. Stamets insults her earlier on in engineering. And that's what the end later on. Obviously, during the meal, she's giving him the cold shoulder. And Dr. Koba like, what's up with her? I don't know, she's crazy. Well, she is, but that's the way it is. Brooke says, they live for the job, but really I feel Starfleet officers have to go until they drop more surely. Well, Brooke, unfortunately, that's what happens when you're in a semi-communistic future where, it's about improving yourself rather than having material wealth, and all you're doing is work. Kind of like living in a communist state. So, it's the way it is, really. But hey. Brooke says, made your stomach drop. It did make your stomach drop, that scene with Kyla Detmer. That's another thing as well. A couple of times in the episode, you saw Owo, and giving looks towards Kyla Detmer in the gym, as well as then her sort of sticking up for Detmer as well. So it's good to see, like I said, and I used to complain about this during the second season, we're not really getting to know more about these new characters, not learning anything about these characters. They're just sort of there while Sarah, Burnham, and Pike were doing whatever Sarah, Burnham, and Pike were doing. And they were just, sometimes often felt like they were just there for decoration, to fill the room. They weren't really important in any way. But it's good to see that these characters are now coming forward and we're learning more about them. I actually said it would be good to see more about Kyla Detmer and Owo. Unfortunately, in the first two seasons, very little was known about them. They were just there for decoration. Brooke says, "Oh my God, Detmer is my home girl." Well, yeah, Detmer's pretty cool, and she's an awesome pilot too. And they always share those looks. Yeah, well, they do. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. In fact, they work all day together. Who knows? Maybe they even live together. Maybe one of them's messy. One of them was always complaining, "Why are you so damn goddamn messy? Tidy your shit up." Again, that's the sort of thing we want to see. Not just them sort of getting more lines, but see them in their quarters as well. What do they live together? Is one of them messy? Are they always in arguments? Are they lovers? Who knows? It doesn't matter. But yeah, and then everyone leaves the room. Obviously, the scene became awkward, and everybody just left the room. And that's just the way it is. And Sarah felt like the whole effort was a waste of time. And I don't think it was. Eventually, it does pay off later on. But we'll get to that. Now, one of the things, as we go back then to Trill, we've got Adria, and so we go through memories, and we meet Gray for the first time. And she's there with a cello. I think I'm not an expert on music instrument, but I think she's playing a cello, and she's playing a song, a lullaby. All right. And that I'm going to get back to that at the end. At the end of this stream, just as before we end this stream, I'm going to get back to that. It's important, okay? Because we hear it in the next episode as well, but through a hum, and we've heard it before in a previous episode in a previous season. I'm going to get to it. LDG Pixels, how you doing? Glad to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. By the way, LDG Pixels was also live. I think he's still live. I'm not sure. Doing the waiting room. So if you're waiting for your favorite streamer to come on live, and you want to get on YouTube, go over to LDG Pixels, and he may even let you into the stream studio, and you can chew the fat, whatever you want about, until your favorite YouTuber starts streaming or drops a video, and then whatever, cool. So as I was saying, it's very important. I'm going to get back to this tune Gray was playing on the cello, because we heard it as a hum in the next episode, Die Trying. But we heard this in a previous episode, in a previous season, and I said I'm going to get back to that just before the stream ends. So, as I was saying, so those were pretty much the I've just zoomed in somehow. Okay, so those are pretty much the bad points I've got out of the way. Now I'm going to go to some of the better bits. So, we're back on the Trill planet, and they're talking, get a mushy moment between Gray and Adria, as love-struck teenagers are, emotional, and I love you, you love me, holding hands. They portrayed the puppy love thing quite well. It was all right. It was a bit mushy for my liking. I'm not into mushy stuff. It's not my deal. But it wasn't anything outrageous. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't overplayed. Fine. I had no problem with it. And obviously the shared presence. Adria made a blanket for her, and then we see a scene where I don't know if it was a comet or a photon torpedo or something hit the ship or space station that they're on. Again, that was never really made clear if you're on a ship or a space station. And obviously, Grey is then hurt. She's been impaled. Well, it looks like a nice big sharp bit of glass sticking right through her stomach. Right, and obviously the symbiote's in danger. So these medical droids start flying in and say, we need to remove the symbiote and put it into a suitable host before it dies. The host cannot be saved. Okay, fair enough. So Adria volunteers to have we see that Adria volunteering to have the symbiote put in her. Grey says, "Are you sure? Is that what you really want to do?" He said, "It is. Because I can preserve you inside me and all that more romantic mushiness. I'm not into that. But hey, it's not. Hey, some people love romance. I'm not a romantic guy. I'm really not. It's just the way it is." But yeah, so she start at that moment. Then obviously she then becomes joined with the host back in real time now in the present. And you start seeing all the previous hosts emerging, which I also thought was a pretty cool scene. It's also good, I think, to see how a Trill for the first time, or so we say, a host for the first time, joins with the symbiote. I know Adria's not a Trill; she's a human. It has happened before with Riker, in the 24th century. So we know it's possible for a human and a symbiote to join, and they do. Obviously, there's a much more stable. This one's obviously a much more stable joining than the one that Riker had. Again, anything's possible, but you meet all the previous hosts, and you also see an evolution of the uniforms. From the I think one was an old uniform, and then obviously the evolution forward. We saw a Picard uniform in there, I think, and then obviously you saw obviously then the old guy, and then Grey come forward. And yeah, and it was cool. Now she said, I am Ambassador Tal, I am Grey Tal, I am Duran Tal, and I am now Adria Tal. She just goes through all the hosts' names, and obviously the symbiote is named Tal. Like Jadzia's symbiote was called Dax. This one's called Tal. So it was cool. So at least they gave it typically a fitting name, because most symbiote names are a three-lettered name. So that's cool. I have no problems with that. It was actually not a bad scene. And she said, "Welcome to the circle." And she gets all the knowledge from obviously Senator Tal, that obviously where Starfleet is hidden, the coordinates and everything else, and she passes that on to Michael. When they're back on Discovery. And obviously they offer Michael Burnham the opportunity to become a host at some point in the future. It was a bit risky. I mean, they've just had one, I think the first ever real successful joining. I mean, I know Riker was joined, but he still had problems. He had to give up the host at some point because it wasn't killing him, but it was causing him damage. So, it's best not to push your luck, I would say. But hey, who knows? Maybe Michael Burnham might get a host. I don't think she needs one, but all right, we'll see. After that, they'd obviously leave Trill to go back to Discovery. And there's one creepy bit where with Grey, that she said, "Have you told him yet?" She said, "No, I haven't told him that you're still," essentially saying that she knows she's still there. And it's kind of like Grey is haunting her. So I don't know if we do see Grey again, will it just be a memory, or will it be a ghost? Is Grey going to be haunting Adria? Because that's not good. I mean, it's not something Curzon did to Jadzia, or something Jadzia did to Ezri, or Joran did to Curzon. It was just, something that happened. Brooke says, "Oh, I'm not sure I can see that, a Burnham host." Well, who knows? She's done everything else so far. I wouldn't be surprised to do it. And I know I said that I'm not a hater of Star Trek Discovery, but the character is typically overused a lot. We understand it. Like Captain Kirk was the main sort of character in the original Star Trek, and then they changed that throughout the TNG era, where it was more of an ensemble. They've obviously gone with the same route with Michael Burnham, where she's the Kirk character of the show, but again, too overused within the show. And that's what I said in the last review. If they gave Michael Burnham her own show, like say leading Section 31 or something, she was leading a team, that will work much better, I think, for the Burnham character, and let Discovery carry on, the rest of the crew carry on as is. without her. And I think that, the Burnham character probably much more likable in, being the star of her own show than amongst an ensemble where it's been proven that an ensemble, the rest of the crew as an ensemble do work well together. I'm not bashing Michael Burnham, I'm just saying she's overused. But she literally knows no bounds. That was true, yeah. But then again, neither did Kirk. Kirk was a little bit worse. He always had his shirt off. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind Michael Burnham with a shirt off, but I don't think we're going to get that. It's just the way unfortunately, that's the way it is. All right. But who knows? Maybe times will change. Maybe we'll see it with a shirt off at some point. I don't know. But yeah, now one of my favorite bits is we're getting to the point now, to the end. And she's finished talking to Michael Burnham. She's given the information. Michael Burnham goes away. And she starts playing the cello. And she starts playing this lullaby. And we heard this lullaby in the next episode, Die Trying. And to which is Michael Burnham, and it actually says, I've heard this before. I heard this when Adric was playing the cello. And we've heard it before. It was the final episode of season 2. But Michael Burnham's got the Red Angel suit on, and she goes through this black hole. And it was that that scene that was very, 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 very similar to that of 2001: A Space Odyssey, where obviously Dave goes through the monolith, and obviously he sees himself evolve. The singing, when you listen to that, you can listen to it on YouTube. If you type in Michael Burnham Red Angel suit final episode, it will show her go. It will show you going through the black hole. You hear her like a singing voice. There's no lyrics. It's just I can't sing. I'm sorry if I made you deaf, but you get my point. And that singing sounds exactly like the music played on the cello and the humming of the woman in the hologram in the episode Die Trying. So clearly it's some sort of galactic earworm. Everybody's heard this melody. Maybe it's like the rhythm of the universe, or the beat of the galaxy. I don't know. Perhaps something similar to that we saw in Stargate Universe, where obviously the character played by Robert Carlyle, I can't remember his name now. He was the professor. He, detected that there was a background radiation in the universe, which obviously led him to believe that the universe had been created by a higher being. So maybe some sort of maybe this tune is an evidence of God, or at least an evidence of Q. Who knows? Maybe it's something left behind by Q. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah. But pretty much, the show was 50-50 in my point of view. I'll give it, out of 10 points, I'll only give it 5. Because it has some really good points, some good bits that I did enjoy, some parts I didn't, and it was just, yeah. But again, Dr. Cobra at the end of the episode, again, had some good dialogue, actually, with Saru, and it was good, especially at the end. So Dr. Cobra got to start the episode, and he got to finish the episode. And he had a lot of scenes, actually a few scenes, during the episode as well. So it's good to see that more and more characters are getting more screen time, more lines. We're learning more about them, rather than just seeing the same thing happen in every episode, and then everyone's really just there for decoration. What I would like to see, there is one thing that is in abundance, and it's been there since the first season. And a lot of people are probably going to bash me as a hater, probably unsubscribe and throw tomatoes at me, and the villagers down the road are going to chase me with pitchforks. But this worship of Michael Burnham from the rest of the crew, it isn't necessary. She doesn't need to be worshipped. She's the commander. She's the second in command. She's the Commander Riker / Captain Kirk of the show. She is the star of the show. Get that? No problem. But there's no need for the rest of the crew to worship her, or always having to worry about what she thinks when she's not there, like we saw in the second episode. What would Michael Burnham do if she was here? It's not necessary. But we get it. She's the star of the show, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, again, a little too much. It's a little on the nose sort of thing. And if they dialed that down a little bit more, again, I would, I'd have less problems with the show. But not that I have that many. But yeah, but, oh, and of course, one thing was at the very, very end was when Detmer goes to see Dr. Kolber and admits that she has a problem and obviously wants to get the therapy that she needs or the treatment that she needs. Obviously, it was difficult for her to admit this because being a pilot, and Dr. Kolber did say, let me guess, as a pilot, you think you're macho. She says, yeah. And we kind of, well, I wouldn't say macho, but we kind of get that from people, we saw pilots like Tom Paris, or, we see Dax flying the Defiant. She was kind of, cocky as well, so, yeah, there is that. It is there, so it was good that they sort of touched on that. But apart from that, these are all these sort of good high and low points of the episode. Really, overall, it wasn't bad. I would say it was mainly a filler episode. It wasn't anything special. Like for the next episode where I will do a review. Hopefully, I'm going to try and do another recorded review on that instead of doing another live stream. Try and get it uploaded. Maybe rather than using some video footage, I'm just going to use stills this time. Which isn't as good as using a video footage. Unfortunately, video footage are great. There used to be this 11-second rule. You could use up to 11 seconds and then you'd be fine, or as long as you just change the footage. Unfortunately, that obviously no longer the case because that got blocked, that video. So I'm going to try, So I'm going to make the next video for next week and see how that goes. Try and upload it. If it doesn't work, guys, I'll just have to do this as live streams, I'm afraid. I haven't risked showing any footage on it in case the stream got cut. Again, I don't want my reviews or videos getting cut off prematurely. But yeah, and that's all. I want to thank you all for coming, guys. There was 5 people watching. It's all right. It's not bad. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. Please, if you haven't hit the like, please hit the like. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. And please share it on Twitter, Facebook, whatever social media you're using. And yeah, and I hope to see you all next time here in the Continuum. Have a good night.